All right, we are back on MorningLine live to you from the News Channel 5 network downtown. Nick Barris along with Metro Vice Mayor Jim Shulman taking your phone calls, talking about the city and what's happened lately and where we're going. Next up on the horn is Ann. Ann, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Hi.
First,
Good morning.
To the blackberries. 42 years ago, I, as a pregnant wife, tried to make my husband a blackberry cobbler from scratch and presented it to my husband, and he took one look at it and said it didn't look like his grandmother's, and he called it a blackberry pie, and that's what I had made, only it was supposed to be a cobbler. And to this day, I have never presented my husband with a blackberry cobbler, Mr. Shulman. Don't bother. It's not worth it. Buy your blackberry cobbler in the frozen section. It's a whole lot easier. Stick with making blueberries. It's a whole lot easier.
Thank you, Ann.
Now,
Thank you. Okay.
On to the police chief. Tomorrow afternoon at 4, if you go to the community oversight website, there is an online session, and you can find out about our 5 people who are looking to become police chief. 4 o'clock, I believe, is the time if you are interested in the candidates. Now, moving on to our COVID numbers that are rising. Can you please tell me what we are doing to make sure that our city is not overrun with people on Thursday that are just going to make those numbers jump up even higher? If and when Mr. Trump does show up for a debate, especially if those people try to overrun Belmont by not adhering to the mandate that you and our mayor have tried to enforce successfully inside our city, even though we are still seeing our numbers rise, as I'm getting tired of sitting inside my house. I do believe I'm still wearing my mask, and our citizens here are trying to do the same. And that is of great concern to me. I thank you for what you and Mayor Cooper have done to protect the citizens in our city, and I don't think enough of us are thanking you for what you have done. So on that, stay away from blackberries, and I thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. She's such a good caller, such a good caller. And, you know, I hadn't thought about that. Now, of course, we all know Belmont is hosting probably the final, the second or third, the other one was canceled, presidential debate this Thursday. We'll be carrying it, of course, on News Channel 5. But yeah, your take on this. I mean, obviously the president and maybe others want to be out there. There can be protests and marches and cheering and all this. Has the city considered this as a possible super spreader event if we're not careful?
Well, you know, the debate itself is limited.
Sure, inside,
if you've been watching inside, you know, there's very few people that are inside. So there's going to be, obviously, when an event like this, which is such a great thing for the city to have, but, you know, first of all, we're not even sure if it's going to happen. You know, it sounds like it. But you have to take into consideration all kinds of precautions. And I know security is ramped up. Everything is beefed up. Will there be people that show up either to, you know, support or protest or whatever? Yes. But we're going to try to be as careful as we can with everybody. You know, I would say, to Ann's point, you know, if you want to make your voices heard, go vote. If you want to go stand there with a sign, you know, that's freedom of speech. I get that, but do it in a way that where people understand your meaning, but you're also doing it in a way that is protective of other people. So one of the concerns I always had a long time ago when people were protesting in front of the Capitol was, I understood their interest in freeing up the economy, but they weren't wearing masks, and we're concerned because it impacts all of us. These are super spreader events. I would encourage people to stay home, watch the debate, not get in the way of all the traffic. They're going to be shutting streets down. Watch it. That's what you're supposed to do, and then go vote. If you come out with signs, be careful. We are trying, as Nick said before, our numbers are, in Nashville are, we don't want any of these things, but we seem to be holding it together. The state is having really high numbers at this point, but a lot of that's outside of, the bigger cities. But practice good health protocols, because we're still in this, regardless of whether you want to send a message or not. We don't have a vaccine yet. We got to be careful.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. There will be people outside, which, again, you have a right to do. I don't get the appeal. I'm going to vote. I know who I'm going to support. I go do that. I don't need to go there and sit there and watch them walk in or whatever, hold up a sign. But other people like the idea of it. It's a gathering, but not during a COVID-19 pandemic. I don't get it, but have at it. Let's go next to Ron. Ron, good morning. Hi, Ron.
Yeah. He wanted to know what you could. First thing I'd do would, the election, I'd put that on the general election ballot and allow the people to vote on their taxes on the general election. In the next general election, you should have got it on this ballot. If not, get it on the next one. Don't have a special election. That doesn't cost anything, but put it on the next election ballot and allow the people to vote on it. The next thing I do, instead of having a presidential debate at Belmont, which will cost the city taxpayers tons of money, block traffic on a lot of roads, if the president wants to come and have a debate, then fly him in out there to National Guard Airport, have it in the airport place they keep the planes out there, have the debate there. You don't have him leaving the airport going from across Nashville, costing the fire department and the police department extra money. Just keep it right there local. And because of these debates, and because Nashville says it wants to control the virus, it is encouraging the virus to be spread all over the United States. And people that come to Nashville and catch the virus leave and go back to different states, different counties, and you cannot tell how much spread that Nashville is causing of that virus from
either that, or you can't tell if they're bringing it here as well.
Yeah.
But if you would touch on his point along that line. And by the way, this is obviously not the first presidential debate that's happened at Belmont, and it is a neat thing for the city because the entire world really is watching that night, the city of Nashville. But what kind of costs are involved? I mean, I know Belmont is, I guess, taking most of this on, I would imagine. But how much does the city have to do? And certainly with law enforcement and things like this, traffic, there's going to be costs to the city because of this.
I know that the estimates could be as high as $500,000 for the city, just in terms of the security and everything else involved with it. Belmont, it's a big deal, obviously, and during a normal time, whenever that is, it is a big thing for Belmont to host it, and I know they were so excited to get it, and now it's such an important debate because we didn't have the second one. I appreciate Ron's point about the airport. I hadn't thought about that. It was almost, when he was talking about that, I was thinking about the NBA and the bubble, because what they did was they go, look, we're going to protect everybody, and this is how we're going to do it. It's probably too late at this point. I think Kristen Welker is probably already here getting ready for the debate, from NBC News. It's a big deal for the city to host it. I hope it goes well. I hope it doesn't turn into chaos or people get sick. But I love that airport thing. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
The election thing,
We
I wrote
talked
that
about
down.
that before, haven't we? You explained, right?
Yeah, so the special election, right now, December 15th is the date. That may change. There are no elections, from what I understand, in 2021. But we have this problem, and I think maybe we need to look at this, Ron. I was subject, when I ran for vice mayor, we had to have a special election because there was a runoff. We have lots of runoffs in this city. That's the way our system kind of works. Maybe we need to back up and try to figure out how we don't have so many elections. And we vote, and that takes care of it. I know we've had some efforts before, but good points, Ron. And particularly on that first one, it may be too late on the debates for this time, but on that first one, I'm going to go back and take a look at it.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for your call, Ron, as always. Let's go next to Ricky. Hello, Ricky.
Hello.
Good morning.
I got a couple questions. About the food stamps, they said they want to cut like 50% out of all of it. One time I heard they said. But about the president voting and stuff, what about the people that can't get out? I don't know how to read anymore. I believe instead of mailing it in, that's fine. But if you don't know how to write, I wish they'd just have it to where you could call a number and vote that way.
So you're not able to vote? Have you voted recently, or when was the last time you voted?
A year ago when my friend took me.
That's the trick now, isn't it? For someone, and there should be, I don't know, I know there are services out there which are nonpartisan that are trying to assist people just like him to go to vote. Obviously, you can't do it by phone because there's no way to confirm who the heck you are, so that's off the table. But I mean, in terms of mailing, if he can do that, but he says he has trouble with reading or writing, but someone needs to take him to vote.
So, Ricky, you can do a couple different things. You can call the Election Commission. I think it's 615-862-8800 or 8800. Yeah, 8800. They may be able to find you a resource to call to if you want to go vote. If you could certainly call, if you're a Democrat, you can call the Democratic Party. Republican, you can call the Republican Party. They'll find you a way to get you to the polls. Yeah. And there are other groups out there that are independent. If you don't want to say one way or the other,
churches will help out. They'll advance. That's a great point. If you call either of the parties, depending on what your affiliation is, and say you'd like to vote and that you are on that party's side, and you can't get there, they'll find a way, won't they?
They'll get you.
Yeah,
they'll get you there,
and every vote counts.
They'll get you in there because every vote does count.
Yeah.
You could request, if you can't get there, an absentee ballot. I think you can still do that, but you need to do that. Don't hold me to it, but the last time I checked, which was like the last week, I think you can still get one, so you just have to send it in. But if you want to go vote, you need to go vote. If you have questions about food stamps, call your local Department of Human Services. Just get somebody to look up the number for you. I don't have that one off the top of my head. But call the Department of Human Services and they can tell you what's going on with that. But on the first thing, I love the idea, Nick, that people are coming up with kind of clever ideas about how to do this stuff. Nobody saw the pandemic coming, but certainly people are coming up with new initiatives that we look at. I don't think you can do it by phone, but certainly need to back up at some point after all this is over and say, okay, what did we do right? What can we change based upon this type of thing? So, Ricky, find a way to go vote.
Yeah, tell Ricky, if you just stay on the horn there, Mary Elena is going to try to put you in touch and give you a number of a nonprofit that can help you, all right, like what Jim was talking about. Did you say we need to take a break yet, Mary Elena? Yeah, we'll take a break, but Ricky, stay right there. She'll get on the line with you and see if she can help you out. And yeah, if you're an individual out there that's having trouble finding a way to get out to vote, as the Vice Mayor said, there are ways and there are people that will get you there if you want to. I promise you that. You just have to take some initiative, make a call or two. We'll take a break and be back with more calls, including Linda and others, right after this.